The comment made by Vice President JD Vance regarding the performance of the late former Vice President Dick Cheney, specifically Vance's quip that Cheney's powerful tenure, not very well as it turns out, transcended mere personal commentary. Delivered in a public forum shortly after Cheney's death, this statement serves as a definitive symbolic marker of the schism within the Republican Party, signaling the triumph of populist, non-interventionist foreign policy over the establishment's neoconservative globalism. This analysis examines the statement's context, reasons, consequences, and its implications for the future direction of American foreign policy. Summary and analysis of the issue. The controversy stems from Vance's brief yet highly charged interjection during a discussion about the role of the vice president. When the interviewer noted that Cheney seemed to be actually running the country during the George W. Bush administration, Vance responded with the now viral retort, "Not very well, as it turns out," delivered with a laugh. This exchange was not simply political trash talk. It was an ideological declaration. Dick Cheney's legacy is inextricably linked to his role as the primary architect of the War on Terror, the invasion of Iraq in 2003, based on faulty intelligence regarding weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, and the subsequent policies of indefinite detention and enhanced interrogation. For the rising populist right, Cheney embodies the catastrophic foreign policy mistakes of the early 21st century, mistakes characterized by costly, drawn-out wars, a disregard for domestic needs, and a perceived betrayal of the American public trust. Vance's comment thus functioned as a political shorthand, analyzing Cheney's impact as a net negative for the United States, particularly due to the massive economic and human costs of the Iraq War and the resulting regional instability. Reasons and consequences. The primary reason for Vance's aggressive critique is ideological alignment. The political movement that elevated Vance, known broadly as the America First, or MAGA movement, is fundamentally defined in opposition to the establishment republicanism championed by Cheney and his daughter, former Representative Liz Cheney. Vance, who has publicly advocated for a more restrained approach to military interventionism, used the moment to signal his loyalty to this populist base. By attacking Cheney's foreign policy record, specifically the neoconservative vision of American dominance through military projection, Vance reinforced his credentials as an anti-establishment figure committed to ending forever wars. It was a strategic move to define the populist wing's foreign policy identity against the historical standard of the party's past. The consequences of the comment are both immediate and enduring. Immediately, it generated intense media controversy, forcing a spotlight back onto the deeply divisive legacy of the Iraq War, an issue that both Democrats and non-interventionist Republicans agree was a mistake. More enduringly, the comment further cements the irreversible political fracture within the Republican Party. The Cheneys, who became outspoken critics of the populist movement and its leader, were already alienated. Vance's statement served as a final, public excommunication of the neoconservative ideal from the party's core platform. For voters, it clearly articulates the difference between the post-2016 GOP, which prioritizes domestic focus and economic nationalism, and the traditional globalist wing. Prediction and solutions. The prediction for the future is clear. The populist, restrained foreign policy articulated by Vance will remain the dominant ideology of the Republican Party for the foreseeable future. The era of preemptive wars, large-scale nation-building efforts, and costly interventions, the hallmarks of the Cheney era, is largely over for the GOP. Instead, policy will likely prioritize transactional diplomacy, a focus on competition with major powers like China, and a deep skepticism toward international treaties and alliances perceived as draining U.S. resources without tangible benefits. The solution implicitly proposed by Vance's critique is a fundamental shift in American geopolitical strategy. This shift involves 5 key pillars. First, non-interventionism, pulling back from military conflicts that do not directly affect U.S. security. Second, fiscal discipline, redirecting trillions of dollars from foreign wars to domestic investment, infrastructure, technology, the middle class. Third, reprioritizing domestic needs, placing economic stability and border security ahead of overseas democracy promotion. Fourth, restraint in executive power, curtailing the expansive war on terror authorities that Cheney helped establish. And fifth, ideological alignment, using foreign policy to reinforce the domestic populist narrative. Vance's flippant comment, therefore, was a declaration of policy, a commitment to never repeat the costly, failed grand strategy of the past. The lasting impact of Vance's phrase is its ability to distill a complex historical debate into a potent, five-word critique. It confirms that the Republican Party has consciously decided to jettison the interventionist foreign policy that defined it for 2 decades, replacing it with a new, skeptical, and domestically focused doctrine. The legacy of Dick Cheney now serves as a cautionary tale, used by the party's new guard to justify a radical change in America's relationship with the rest of the world.